You're watching UATV News. My name is Inna Kosinska. Good evening. 21 years in prison. This is the verdict of the High Court of Prague to Belarusian Aleksey Fadeev. He became the seventh person convicted in the Czech Republic for participating in hostilities in the Donbas. Of all EU countries, the Czech Republic is the most active in the systematic legal prosecution of mercenaries in the ranks of illegal armed groups. My colleagues know more about how Ukrainian law enforcement officers are looking for evidence of such crimes and help bring cases to a verdict.
This is Aleksey Fadeev, a citizen of Belarus who has been officially living in the Czech Republic for many years. From 2014 to 2016, he participated in the hostilities in Donbas on the side of illegal armed groups. Last year, a Czech court sentenced him to 4.5 years in prison for participating in an organized criminal group. But after the appeal, the sentence was revised because the article of the charge became much more serious.
The Supreme Court of Prague has now decided to change the qualification of this crime for participation in a criminal group to terrorism, including being a part of a criminal group, and sentenced him to 21 years.
According to the Ukrainian embassy in the Czech Republic, besides Fadeev, already 6 people were accused of taking part in the hostilities in the Donbas. Another 20 are under investigation. Czech analyst Roman Matza says most often those are marginal adventurers, criminals and people from radical groups.
These groups of extremists are supporters of Russia, Putin's regime, supporters of groups in eastern Ukraine. Russian propaganda is working for them. It tells them we need to fight there against NATO, against some kind of conspiracy theories. On the one hand, there are simply not very smart people. Others are just extremists who go there and wage their own battle, which they cannot fight in the Czech Republic.
The expert says many of his compatriots have already become disillusioned with both ideas and mercenaries' life. And he shows interviews with Czechs whose call signs are Begemot and Kavkaz. They complain about the conditions of service in illegal armed groups and that they are stuck in temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine.
Tam s Kavkazem zadlužili za 3,5 měsíce záplatu z 18. года. My vlastně měli co žrát.
В 2014 году, когда формировалась лавина, мне рассказал, тебе первым вручим в руки паспорт Российской Федерации. Ты заслужил, ты его отвоевал. А я, когда я получил российский паспорт? Никогда нас дали в розыск США с Чехией.
Русский есть паспорт?
Паспорт есть.
А он не может выехать.
Ale my nevědím.
Сейчас как-то мне никому здесь не нужны.
Czech law enforcement found out the transfer of people to Donbas was carried out in an organized manner. 5 members of the criminal gang involved in this were detained this spring.
It was an organization that actually recruited Czech citizens for the war against Ukraine. They had contacts with militants in Donbas and with Russian special services here at the embassy in Prague.
Ukrainian law enforcement are also investigating dozens of cases of crimes of mercenaries who come to Donbas from countries besides Russia. And they share the collected data with their foreign colleagues.
There are more than 250 persons. The largest number of mercenaries who are installed in criminal proceedings come from the Czech Republic, Serbia, Italy, Spain, France. If we understand that a person is on the territory of another state, it is more expedient to transfer our materials to this country or give some information. It will help the country in which the perpetrator stays to bring him to justice for these crimes.
Experts say Russia used foreign mercenaries in Donbas for propaganda purposes mostly.
It's still a hybrid war. Every Czech, Slovak or other Slav who fights on the side of Russia, on the side of the so-called insurgent Donbas, is a powerful argument that it was not Putin who started the war.
All mercenaries who participate in hostilities in the ranks of the illegal armed groups in the Donbas are international war criminals, the lawyers explain. Now they have only a few options: to hide in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine or Russia, or to go home and face trial. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Yulia Krychkova, UATV News.
Over the years since the beginning of the ceasefire in Donbas, twice less soldiers were killed than a year earlier. Representative of the Ukraine separate districts of Donetsk region in the Trilateral Contact Group, Serhiy Harmash, said. He noted that despite ceasefire is from time to time violated by illegal armed groups, it still works. However, in his opinion, by September the situation at the front may deteriorate significantly. There may be several reasons for this, and the main is the elections to the Russian parliament.
One of the reasons is geopolitical. This is the upcoming negotiations between President Zelensky and President Biden. But the main one is the September elections to the State Duma, which will be held in Russia. The ruling party of Russia needs to create an image of an enemy, mobilize its electorate for the imperial idea Putin is carrying. Therefore, this escalation will fit into the scheme of the internal political game of the Russian authorities, the geopolitical game. I think this is not the end, and by September we will face more serious incidents at the front.
Bring peace back to Donbas. President of Ukraine is doing everything possible for this. Negotiations in the normative format, agreements on a complete ceasefire, and even an offer to personally meet with the Russian president. However, the Kremlin has other goals, said Press Secretary of Volodymyr Zelensky Sergei Nikiforov. Vladimir Putin avoids negotiations, and the illegal armed groups controlled by the Kremlin, contrary to the agreements, are shelling not only the positions of the Ukrainian military. Shells are also exploding in the yards of the civilians living along the contact line.
The president has repeatedly said that he is ready to meet both in the normative format and face-to-face with the Russian president in order to stop shooting in eastern Ukraine once and for all. Unfortunately, the Kremlin has obviously some other goals. Nevertheless, peace remains the president's top priority.
Militarization of the Russian-occupied Crimea leads to disastrous consequences. Moscow is actively transforming the peninsula into a military base to the detriment of the environment and interests of local residents. The Kremlin's goal is not just to deploy a contingent on the territory, but to gain military and political dominance in the Black Sea region. And the regular drills of the Russian army there is just an excuse to fill the occupied Crimea with military equipment and soldiers. Details in the following report.
Being occupied by Russia, Crimea is turning into a military training ground. Since seizure of the Ukrainian peninsula in 2014, the Kremlin has been using it to test its missile systems and to conduct endless military exercises, both on land and at sea.
At present, there are about 33,000 servicemen of the Russian Federation in Crimea. Another 90,000 Russian military men are constantly present on our eastern borders. The missile systems that are now in the Crimean Peninsula are the most dangerous for us. There are 4 different types of them. They can be applied both to our ships and onshore facilities.
Over the past week alone, the Russian military have deployed more than 40 units of military and special equipment during tactical exercises off the coast of Crimea. According to ecologists, over the years passed since the occupation began, military exercises destroyed flora and fauna on 55,000 hectares of land.
Thousands of large-caliber shells still explode in the sea, and so this is a really dead zone. And part of the Kerch Peninsula most likely can be declared dead as well, considering the condition of the coastal water area around the so-called polygons.
War propaganda in the occupied Crimea begins already in kindergartens. Special clubs are organized on the peninsula where children are taught to hold weapons and wear military uniforms.
Children are taught that Russia is a great power, that Crimea is not occupied. And what is needed, if possible, if there is a threat, they have to die for Russia with arms in hand. Not only Putin, but also Stalin is been made hero. And they very strongly impose their values of the Soviet Union on children.
Office of the Ombudswoman of Ukraine reported that the construction of a new regimental town began in Feodosia. Recently, under the pretext of eliminating the consequences of the flood, almost 21,000 servicemen were transferred to the territory of the peninsula as well. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.
28 countries and international organizations will take part in the Crimean Platform summit. Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba stated this at a briefing. Now they are preparing a concept for the summit in 5 spheres. Among them are sanctions, security in the Azov Black Sea region, protection on human rights, environmental and economic consequences of the occupation of Crimea. Kuleba noted that the summit will not be a one-off event, and after it is over, the work will continue at numerous levels.
In the case of the Crimean Platform, Ukraine acted not only as a state who asks for help, but also offers joint solutions to restore security in the region and the world. Progress on the deoccupation of Crimea will serve as an important element of the broader policy of the international community to resolve frozen conflicts in Europe.
Helicopters provided air support, armored personnel carriers rolled through fields, and soldiers fired at enemy targets on July 27 as part of a large military exercise hosted by Ukraine and also involving the United States, Poland and Lithuania. The drills called Three Swords 2021 involve more than 1,200 servicemen and more than 200 combat vehicles. They will last till July 30 at Yavorov training ground in Lviv region.
You have seen several tactical exercises. All of them were conducted jointly by the units of all three countries. They show high level of preparations and readiness of our partners to jointly repel aggression.
1 million Ukrainian hryvnias or $37,000 for hacking the Diia state services application. This is the price in the second bug bounty from the Ministry of Digital Transformation. Digital security specialists from all over the world are invited to test the application. For the fact that they find errors in the code of Diia app, the ministry promises a reward of $2,200 to $4,500. This is the second stage of testing. In the first one, the specialists identified minor errors that did not affect the operation of the system.
Protection of Ukrainians' personal data is the focus of our work, and we do everything to ensure that they are protected as well as their personal data. Therefore, while developing services, we are actively working on cybersecurity, and our next step is bug bounty. This is an important public open step that will allow us to test the Diia application by ethical hackers.
The first patient with the Delta coronavirus strain died in Kyiv hospital. 4 out of 6 patients who were confirmed to be infected with this strain returned from Russia. According to doctors, the Delta strain proceeds faster and more aggressively. Meanwhile, 717 new cases of COVID-19 were registered in Ukraine as of July 28. Most of them are in Kyiv, Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions. Ukraine is ready for a new wave of COVID-19 pandemic. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, in some hospitals, certain questions still arise, but it depends on the staff. The head of state also noted that problematic moments arouse during a pandemic all over the world, even in those countries where medicine is at very high level.
We are ready for the fall. Earlier, we lacked hospitals, the ambulance cars, the salaries of doctors who had to receive 300% more for fighting with COVID-19. We lacked oxygen. Now we have it, and we are ready with all this. I think this is the level of other European states. If we have 90,000 beds for patients, of which the capacity does not exceed 50,000, then I think we are not just ready, we are absolutely ready.
Modernizing the unique ethnographic museum in Kyiv and turning it into a magnet for tourists. This is the plan of the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine within the framework of the big restoration program. Private business will help the state. Details in the following report.
This small house from Venice region is almost 180 years old. Once there lived a woods craftsman who made harness for oxen. Twice a year the museum staff whitewash and put it in order. In 2018 the museum found supplies and renewed the roof. The neighboring houses were less fortunate.
In that house the ceiling collapsed and our staff workers made the repairs themselves. Our houses are all leaking because they were covered with raw straw and we don't have this straw now.
Another unique exhibit of the museum in PYROHIV is the 19th century Hutsul community house from the village of Verkhovina in Ivano-Frankivsk region. This is a whole complex of outbuildings with a closed courtyard, similar to a fortress. Timber shingles are no longer able to withstand rainfall.
It is necessary to change the shingles a little because it has been laying there for 45 years. Some of the boards are already rotten. We have to replace some of the dilapidated elements in the walls as well.
One has to spend more than 1 hour to see how our ancestors lived several centuries ago. The area of the museum is 113 hectares. There are about 300 monuments of folk architecture of the 16th, 20th centuries on its territory. Many are in need of repair and restoration. The roads there are not perfect and the amenities are not everywhere. And already at the entrance, guests are greeted by an old iron gate.
I am ashamed that a lot of foreigners come here and see this terrible entrance. They are stunned by it. It was made 50 years ago. Since then, we have been repairing it step by step, but we did not have the opportunity to make major repairs.
There were no repairs in the PYROHIV museum since its opening half a century ago. But now the Minister of Culture plans to revive it. It is a part of the big restoration program. The memorandum of cooperation with one of the private agricultural holdings has already been signed.
щоб ми могли оживити.
We want to do it to revitalize this place from the point of view of attracting as many people as possible. They will come here and see our restored monuments, not just the entrance alone. This is the first step, and I call on all our partners so that we develop the public and private partnership.
2 new entrances with information stands, ticket offices and parking lots will appear here by the new year. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Svetlana Sich, UATV News.
3 Ukrainian movies will be presented at the Venice Film Festival this fall. Among them is the movie Reno by Ukrainian director from Crimea, former political prisoner Oleg Sentsov. It will be screened as part of the Horizons program. The film Censor, directed by Peter Kerekesh, will also be presented in the same competition, while the main program includes the movie Blik by Valentin Vasinovich. That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Thank you for staying with UATV channel. Goodbye.